Okay. It seems like, the group, you're feeling quite well today. It's quite bright, the mind. Already a little bit, getting used to the practices, general idea of different kinds of practices, feel of them. Yeah, good. There is a question about the relic. How many of you have checked it, have felt it? Like over half. How was it? What was this?
No reaction.
No reaction?
No reaction.
Okay. While to somebody else it was powerful. What?
I think I felt something.
Felt something?
In my head.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I imagined it.
Yeah, I think I felt it. It seemed to have a clarifying.
Yes. Yeah. So as I've been, when we have had sessions with various Mahasiddhas, Guru Rinpoche, Yese Chogyal, Bogarnath, Agastya, and today Shakyamuni, I've pointed out briefly that inside, so to speak, they are the same. Same clarity, same aliveness, energy, but on the surface, so to speak, on the level of personality, they feel different. Right? Like yesterday, when we had the visitation of Agastya and Bogarnath, Agastya is kind of this, powerhouse, this small powerhouse, like, oh, wow, so powerful. And Padmasambhava is a little bit like that, but he has also different, feel to him. While Shakyamuni was, that same brightness, softness, but then like this, like, who was it who said, like extreme kindness, like unfailing kindness, and even shyness to him. There you have it, differences between Mahasiddhas, but all of them are Mahasiddhas, masters. So I was saying this because
The relic.
the relics, yeah. Well, maybe it comes back to me in a moment.
Was it the clarity of the relic?
Yeah, the feel of the relic. So that's Buddha, part of Buddha Kashyap's body. Physical part. Actual physical thing. I suppose it's the same thing that I've already said, that if you don't feel anything or you're not really clear, do it again. It's there for the whole 7 days, so have another one. And this question is related to the relic. I am finding it difficult to believe / comprehend / understand how the relics multiply. Is this something that has ever been witnessed / proven, or must it be accepted on blind faith? Difficult to believe, comprehend, understand how the relics multiply. Well, I haven't seen, having a relic like that, usually they are passed within lineages. And even not just to any student, they are passed from teachers to students who become teachers, usually. And if you found a Tibetan Buddhist Lama who had some Mahasiddha relics, you probably wouldn't be able to get to it and take it to your hand. You would see it from distance. So, partially because of that, I haven't had the opportunity to follow some collection of relics or something like that. And I haven't seen how relics multiply. But I've been told, and it's a widely known thing that they do multiply. And what Erik Pema Kunzang told me, and I don't see a reason why he would lie about it, that he got his relic from his teacher Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, and in his possession the relic that he received multiplied into 10, 11, something. So it just multiplied. And it does, it's like in Tibetan Buddhism, relics are, they are, how do you say, like a household name. And it's considered a standard that they multiply. But has it been witnessed, like proven, scientifically documented? I have no idea. But to me it doesn't matter either. I can take that thing and of course I can practice Guru Yoga with Buddha Kashyapa without that relic also. I can check if the frequencies match. But I can also just take that thing and pow, my mind goes clear in a few seconds. That's enough for me. So that's enough proof to me. But having said that, I got this 8-9 months ago, and it was smaller then. It has grown in size, like maybe 30%. It's still small, but it has grown. So I'm hoping that it's pregnant and will if it's been 8-9 months, it should be around this time, the due date. But never ever take things on blind faith. Must it be accepted on blind faith? Nothing should be accepted on blind faith on this path. What could be another example of this? Well, we were already talking about previous lives the other day. You remember that? Don't take it on blind faith, but also don't block it if you have no experience of it. While it's possible to study it in meditation. Luke, can you put another curtain? It shines through the floor. So, yeah. And of course the whole idea of attaining Buddhahood, that's also a hypothesis until you're there. We only have the word of those who have done it. Right? Working hypothesis, gaining experiences, and through experiences, gaining clarity. Verifying and falsifying things, doctrines, whatever, through one's own experience. Rushen question. What does Rushen do for me dharmically? Does it just soften the body, or is there something deeper going on? You mentioned trauma release, for example. This is also a good question. I haven't had a bad question so far. What does Rushen do for me? So, it's a good body of material. I mentioned this Dr. David Berceli, American psychologist, who, when he happened to see a polar bear documentary where polar bear was chased and it was anesthetized and they put some study color to it. This polar bear, after he was released, he started shaking, and it shook off the stresses of that incident, being chased and all that, and then it just walked away. So this doctor was seeing the documentary and had a light bulb go on, and that's how he started experimenting with this, what he calls trauma releasing exercises, TRE, which is the same thing as Rushen. Shaking and baking. So Berzelii has like a nice body of material available. He had book, at least one, if not several, and he has talked about how this trauma release, how he has worked with Western people from poor countries, children who have been brought up in war zones, like really traumatized people, really stressed out people, and it has brought magnificent benefits. I have a friend who is the head TRE teacher in Finland, and he has also told me some impressive stories, people who were sexually abused as a child, or later on in life, real traumas, and getting immense relief, or at least great alleviation to their traumas. So of course, if one has like a proper trauma, which might, for example, make one socially totally incapable or socially paralyzed, so that you only stay at home, you're afraid to go outside, afraid to meet other people, afraid to say hi to a cash register person in the grocery store, that kind of situation. And through this simple shaking, trauma released, getting back life to again, getting to a flow, being able to get some more help and do therapy and perhaps mindfulness practices, meditation. It's a big thing, isn't it? So, what does Rushen do for me dharmically, from the point of view of mind training? The same thing. But maybe we don't have, hopefully of course, somebody might have some proper traumas. We are living in a world where there is a culture for physical and psychological abuse among human beings. Abuse, violence, people do horrible things to each other. So, but hopefully, of course, none of us here has traumas, but if we think of this on a more subtle level, there is a dualistic conditioning, right? That's Dharma is about coming from dualistic state to non-dualistic state. And in that process, we need our body. And as it was discussed before, body and mind are connected. They are not one and the same, but they are very closely connected. So, in that process, Rushen can help a lot. And also, if you do yoga or Tai Chi, Qigong, something with a movement with mindfulness or spontaneous dance, like we were talking about the other day, you get the same benefit. But Rushen is genius in the sense that I was telling you about this continuum from temple dances, remember? Back down, like coming to something like a middle phase, and then starting from Rushen, totally chaotic stress release, and at some point it might start to take some like form, and eventually the full flowering of it, spontaneous movement, is temple dances or something like that. Spontaneous yoga practice, spontaneous yoga postures, one after the other, another.
Do you think that's where yoga came from originally?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, so we do this Dzogchen dance, like simple dance, how we try to do, and it's going well, but tempo just keeps, whenever I go to that toilet and I come back, it's 10 BPMs high. So we have these simple physical practices, Dzogchen dance, Rushen. Sometimes we do another session, physical session in the afternoon, just to, give some attention to the body as well. Put the physical body in the foreground. Right? But Dharma practice, and this is an important point, is about the mind. Primarily about the mind. Mind made of thoughts, emotions, energy. It's connected to the body, but it's not the same. I was just thinking about this, that when in some meditation approaches, Dharma approaches, there's a lot of emphasis sitting with the body and feeling with the body. If you do that without addressing thoughts and emotions, you will bypass thoughts and emotions. That's one of the ways how you put the thoughts and emotions in a box and put the lid on. Because you keep the lid on it when you keep returning to your body. This is spiritual bypassing. Just a side note. So does it just soften the body, or is there something deeper going on? You mentioned trauma release. Can be both. Why not? Both softening the body, getting some muscle tonus even, muscle, what do you call it, like a muscle power, stretching, and so on.
Would you recommend it as part of your daily practice then?
Yes. I recommend something physical with mindfulness awareness regularly, few times a week at least. I'm 38 now, and I really feel it if I skip a week or 2 weeks, my back is getting stiff, and I start to feel it. So certainly, yeah.
What does the word Rushen actually mean?
Oh yes, Rushen means separating samsara and nirvana. It's Tibetan word, Rushen, and I think the literal meaning is to separate, but the implication is to separate samsara and nirvana, separate confused condition and liberated condition. These two questions. How do you evoke 3 Buddha aspects at the same time? When chanting Abam, is it okay to look for one particular Buddha aspect's energy within the Abam, or is it better to enjoy the whole? How do you evoke 3 Buddha aspects at the same time? So first, I was saying about this, that you can take the list of THY Buddhas and meditate them one by one and get to know them one by one. And also through that experiment, understand better what Tantra is about, as Tantra is about working with energies. So you have to do that work of knowing them one by one and having a clear sense of each of them one by one. Then, at some point, well, the thing is that I wouldn't want to talk about this too much because it's a spoiler. It's much more fun to do it yourself, explore it. I wouldn't want to tell you everything. Is that an okay answer? Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Do that what I just said one by one and then take it from there. Everything is allowed, except foolish things.
So that's meditating on these different deities, on these different Buddhas.
Huh? What was it? I didn't hear it.
What you're recommending is you meditate on each of these Buddhas.
Right?
Is that it? I mean,
Yeah.
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 Presumably you give a description about what their qualities are, so maybe that would prompt me to know how to meditate with a particular Buddha as opposed to another one.
Okay, so there are two classes, peaceful Buddhas and wrathful Buddhas. And wrathful, the energy of the wrathful ones feels like stronger. In a word, stronger. Stronger and much more dynamic, like something like that, like a volcano. And then peaceful ones feel like a nice breeze of wind. General characteristic. Okay? And what?
No, just...
And yeah, peaceful and wrathful.
And beyond that, their individual characters will become evident just by meditating on them?
Yes, yes. That's how I studied. Yeah, I had to meditate a lot. I had to acquire my skills through, hard work. I would get, as I explained, I would get transmissions, but masters would usually say nothing. They would just pass the energy and I would have to sit, practice it, and study it in my experience and make sense of it.
No, I just wondered if it was clear how to meditate on each Buddha.
Is it clear how to meditate each Buddha?
Do you just say that mantra in a Guru Yoga
Yes.
style and then that's
Yes.
it, basically?
Say the mantra. Say the name even, just the name. Name works as a mantra. And that's it. Do the tuning in and just feel it.
So Kim, just on that, like where I'm at the moment, I'll take whatever comes under Abba.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not particularly, but maybe this is because I'm gross as regards the meditation aspect or whatever,
Okay.
but I'll take whatever is actually coming under
Right.
Abba, rather than actually trying to break them down or, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, which relates to the second question. When chanting Avam, is it okay to look for one particular Buddha aspect's energy within the Avam, or is it better to enjoy the whole? That's a good way to say it. Enjoy the whole. Enjoy it. So the reason I'm saying this, that you can meditate each Buddha one by one, is just for in-depth study. In-depth study. You don't have to do it. You can do years just doing the Avam and get the benefits of it. But kind of if you want to get a clearer picture how Tantra works, what all these Buddhas are about, how the teachings are, how our teaching is put together, then you can do it. I wasn't meaning, I didn't remember to mention this earlier, but I wasn't saying that you all have to use, 30 hours or 100 hours meditating each these Buddhas. You don't have to do that. This is just additional study. The main thing is just to do the Tibetan Heart Yoga as it's taught. Yeah. So by all.
Yeah, so Kim, so at the moment in THY1, like the one, it's Padisman Baba. That's who we
Yes.
ask for the blessing.
Yes.
For the mantra, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're working on that practice, at what stage can we switch and start to, at any time, can we switch Buddha or Master?
Oh, yes, okay. So, Padmasambhava is the main master, but as we have experienced, and if you have been at the website, there is a list of masters. And as I mentioned, the Mahasiddha family behind supporting open heart teachings, it's something 40-50 masters. So that's also an additional study to meet different masters. Additional study. But Guru Rinpoche is the main one. So, so focus on him. Get to know him. Okay?
Yeah.
I find it difficult to visualize the crystal aura. Do you have any tips? Yes. Do you have ice sculptures in the winter in England or Ireland? Ice sculptures? No? Have you seen statues, small or big, made of glass, transparent glass? That's one tip. Of course, crystal, how do you say it? Like crystal statues, crystal items. That's another tip. You can go online and see how ice sculptures are, just Google whatever made of transparent glass or crystal or ice. Mongoose added again. Always when I'm talking, he's nodding off like a mongoose on a sand of hill. Hence his nickname, Irish Mongoose.
I actually asked that question. I did buy a little crystal Buddha.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
So that helped me in that sense. But it was more the fact that I feel that there's when I sort of imagine out there, my mind sort of hits probably my own energy blocks or whatever. I don't know what it is, and I find it difficult actually just sort of visualize something like a ball or whatever. I find it easier in the body, but actually sort of projecting out there, I find it more difficult.
Yeah, it comes. It comes. It's just a getting accustomed to some form of practice. It takes a while to kind of get out of that mindset. Yeah, I totally understand it. I've had the same situation.
I think Jonathan's suggestion this morning to imagine a pliable diamond.
Oh yeah.
It was a good suggestion, and something that I've done that I found useful myself is that the column is not a sort of an indented column. It's actually the width of my aura, so it's a single grid. So that I think that might make it easier.
Yes. So pliable means.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just usually say that you don't have to think about the hardness of the diamond or crystal. But yeah, you were talking about the pillar, down and up. Yes, so that can be like a, just use your imagination. As you were saying that you're using a pillar making the connection up or down, that is the width of the aura. Sure, whatever works. If you feel like just doing a connection like that, that's fine too. Just make the connection.
Would that be the same in a Nadi technique then? Because I think in the instructions you give, you talk about quite a thin central channel.
In Nadi.
In Nadi, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what Michael's just suggested there in terms of it being pretty thick,
Right.
wider than my body. For
Right.
the Nadi technique, I find that helpful to think of it very wide, within the Nadi technique as well.
Okay, so in the beginning of the practice we make this connection from the body-mind to these Mahasiddha areas, Mahasiddha centers, and what is first and foremost important is to get the connection going on. If it's a thin bandwidth or wide bandwidth, doesn't matter, just get it going. Just get to that, tap into that clarity and aliveness so that you really feel it. So that's important. But yeah, it's a good idea to make it wide. And in Nadi technique, well, yes, why couldn't you also have the idea that it's like a really wide bandwidth? But having said that, in Nadi technique, breathe up and down the central, like thin one. 1 or 2 millimeters, like thin. What was the...
Yeah, because if you have too wide in Nadi, if you have too wide a channel,
Yeah.
then you have the right channel and the left channel also, where you're breathing in. So it pushes it way out. I was just wanted to ask, is it on the right channel and left channel, should they be near the spine?
Yes, I just want to clarify that now that we were talking about this central channel in Nadi technique, we were talking about the last 4 breaths in the central channel, up and down. So left and right channels do not continue outside the body. They are only here, from the forehead to the tip of the tailbone. So like this much from the center line to both sides. Okay?
Is it important to visualize them on the back or, along your spine? Or
Inside the body,
inside
next to the spine.
next to the spine?
Yeah. So if we think that if we sit like this and we start feeling the spine, the central, like the physical central channel in the spine, it's like a little bit of the surface of the skin inside the back. Okay? It's not right there on the surface of the skin, the central nerve channel in the spine. So take it that much in and then visualize the channels. What happens with visualization is that the image that you put there, the actual energy current will catch that visualized image. If it's close enough, if it's accurate enough, it will take it, it will catch it. And that's how we get the effect.
Just repeat that, Ken, please.
So these energy currents are there, the left and right currents, and when we apply a visualization that is accurate enough, meaning that if we visualize left and right channels, for example, 0.5 meter on the sides outside the body, it doesn't click, it doesn't connect. But when it's accurate enough, if we visualize like few centimeters from the central center line of the body, few centimeters to the left or right, then it snaps on, connects.
Can I just ask another question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thinking about it now in terms of visualising the sort of central channel, the pillar, shall we say, as being wide. Yeah, I particularly find that useful in the second half of the chakra technique. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
As if it's sort of as if the white light's sort of coming down like a rain, like it's sort of raining down on me.
Yeah.
I find that useful, rather than it just sort of being this kind of
Yes.
quite sort of narrow thing, sort of like this broad sense of something
Yeah.
raining down on me.
Yeah. Yes. So making it like a sort of like a majestic. Well, maybe that's a bit too fancy word. But I do have a limited. I'm not a native speaker, so I kind of have to try to.
A lift shaft. Looks like a lift shaft.
Okay. Lift shaft.
Otis.
Yeah. Huh?
Otis.
Sorry. When I was walking in Finland, I was right beside the Otis building. For some reason, I thought you might know it.
Okay.
They make lifts.
They make gifts.
Huh.
Stairway. Yeah, stairway. No, stairway.
Sorry, just back to the dual visualization, just briefly. I get a bit of a the crystal is sort of like flowing like water,
Mm-hmm.
pushing,
Mm-hmm.
and the aura, like it's moving. It's like
Yeah.
like water. Like, is that okay to?
That's totally okay.
Yeah.
I often
Feels good, yeah.
I often say that, just like I mentioned that the aura is filled with countless channels, thin ones, and when we visualize the sphere, the big ball of jewel, you can also visualize as if it was filled with those spider threads or hair, like hairs, like when some woman or man has long hair and it flows in the wind, it kind of has this, movement like the sea, like hair in the water in the sea. It moves like this. So you can kind of also have that kind of visualization, just transparent hairs, made of diamond, made of jewel, full of hairs, floating like that. That's a good image. That's the effect I was when we give some put some small particles in there. Yesterday at some point I gave you the image of imagining that the body space is full of tiny diamonds, and the same thing with aura. So by doing a visualization like that, we get into those small particles. But in essence, the experience is the same. Like the clarity of it is the same, the equanimity of it is the same.
I find the diamond, I mean, I know you said not the hardest of diamond, but I still find that it sort of makes it a little bit rigid for me. And
Okay.
I sort of feel that the energy should be like, you say energy is flowing, then, that diamond, I can see the clarity of it instead of the clarity of mind, but it seems to, for me, also sort of bring along a sort of a rigidity, and that doesn't seem to sort of fit with the flow of energies. You see?
Right. Well, the the primary meaning of doing jewel visualization, the first part of it, is because awareness itself, the Dharmakaya aspect of Buddha nature, has this transparent feel to it. So we tap into that by using the transparency and flawlessness of diamond. That's the main effect of it. But like I said, it's just getting used to the practices. Then there are questions of jewel visualization. More questions. What do you mean by all channels perfectly connected? By all channels perfectly connected. Well, if we were all Mahasiddhas, we would already have constant connection with both pillars. All channels perfectly aligned, connected, joined. But because that is not the case, we need to establish that connection, get it going again. And for that, we have this practice. Does it answer? I think it does. Why do we visualize a column 6 meters or an infinite distance above and below? Wait a sec. Why do we visualize a column above/below?
6 meters above or below.
Yes, but this continues, this sentence. Or bodies if the Mahasiddhi chakras are just above.
Our head. I imagine that the Mahasiddhi chakras were just above our head, but they're not. I think someone has already answered that one for me. They're outside the aura, so that's why we. And so to stop them being contaminated by our aura, we imagine them to be a great distance away. Is that? Well, why is the column so high? Why does it need to be so high? Why can't it just be 4 meters, just outside it?
Well, well, that's how we are built. That's how the energy body is built. In one of the ancient Hindu scriptures is called Rig Veda. And it says in Rig Veda that, along the lines, that 1/4 of ourselves is visible and 3/4 is invisible. That gives the measure, that gives the measure of if we think of that John is, for example, 2 meters long. I'm picking you because 2 is an easy number to count. So that's 1/4. 2 meters, and then if 3/4 are hidden, that's exactly 6 meters. But yeah, that's just how our energy system is built. And of course, for a shorter person, it's a little less. But if the jewel visualization does not seem to be working, is it okay to maybe chant a mantra, or should I persist with the jewel? Persist, learn the technique right.
Kim,
Yes.
just to clarify, the Maha City Boomies, are they outside the Aurora, as it were? Or does the Aurora sort of reach up to the top of them? But we just can't quite, do you know?
This is also a moment when I think that should I answer that question, because then I spoil it. You know, you can discover these things by yourself. Just sitting down and starting to feel, starting to study how your energy body is. One more question, then we sit a little.
Do we need to maintain the distinction between the visualization of the crystal body and the visualization of the crystal aura?
During the practice
Yeah.
of Tibetan Heart Yoga?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the basis throughout all the techniques until Ati Yoga.
The distinction, that's the point. You know, so because we visualize the body
Oh, okay.
and then the aura, but that, you know, they're obviously joined.
Yeah, both.
So you know, I would visualize just the aura.
Both. It should be both.
So you need to see both.
Yes.
In your image.
Yes. Returning to both of them, like taking brief snapshots, you know, returning to it every once in a while. Let's sit together. I don't feel too well today, so I don't feel like talking any longer. in 35 minutes, John will be giving the session on 2PF up there, and I'll see you at 6 after the break. Thank you.
Thank you.